enough money to be able to improve and grow, but it's not a profit-oriented business, not in public education. But our intention is to do this, to be able to work with educators at the level that we're describing, bring this technology into being, tune it, hone it, so that it really reflects educators throughout the level of the system, the feedback levels we've been discussing and so forth. And then out of that, market this kind of in a parallel oscillating system to the home, so that this would become a cartridge that plugs into your Nintendo machine, that carries the interface and all of this stuff, so that now your Nintendo machine can plug into any number of CD-ROM devices that are coming down the road, or into your telephone. Tomorrow we're going to be talking to Bell South. How is it that we can take your television set, your telephone, and turn them into doing this pervasively across the board? Because we're not interested in stretching the envelope for a few that can afford a high-end computer. We're interested in how can this become just the way everybody relates to information.
David, what do you think would happen to a student who was inside this system for 2 or 3 years and then moved away and went back into another system? What would happen?
He or she would be very unhappy. And yet I think that you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the golden days of the birth of science. Your question. And I have 2 more stories before we quit, so let me take on this one real briefly. In the time of the Renaissance, there were scientists, the early scientists, that had a real experience of the universe. Galileo saw the pockmarks on the moons of Jupiter. Right? Saw that there was moons of Jupiter, and that therefore the idea of the Aristotle's universe wasn't tenable. He saw it with his own eyes. The Pope could say everything he wanted to say about how that couldn't be true, but this person saw and experienced with his own body and his own head and his own felt sense that, wait a minute, despite what you're telling me, I know this to be true. And out of that spirit, the Renaissance and science were born. And I think that once children have the experience of the relevance of their own internal process to their learning in the world, that once they go home there, once they know that to be true, that no matter what else happens, they may be frustrated, they may get beat upon, and they may drop out of school and say, I can't live in this environment anymore. But they'll be quite successful because they'll have at some other level learned how to be learners in the world. And frankly, I'd rather every second grader drop out and know that than go through school the way it is today. I really would.
I've got one last question for you.
Sure.
So you're saying that you know, is this going to be a free and open learning situation, or are there going to be boundaries and direction, you know?
This is what we call technically relevant random access. It's designed to optimize the response around a bubble of what might be called relevant support materials. Most multimedia systems and hypermedia systems, and I'm talking kind of techie for some of you, so I apologize, I'm going to respond to your question though. Most hypermedia systems are designed to be nearly theoretically infinite in any direction according to tangential jumps. This is not concerned with that. While it could accommodate tangential jumps to the nth degree, its primary concern is providing instant response within a bubble that's related to wherever somebody is. It's got a different kind of caching scheme, is a different kind of file architecture and structure that lends itself to both networking, slow speed sourcing from CD-ROMs and telephone lines and so forth.
What I'm thinking about is what your bubble is. Is your bubble going to be a certain direction so that we're moving these children in a direction?
Okay, is there an interface between what we call curriculum today and this? Okay. All right. Yes, there is. Because frankly, if this is a free, open-ended inquiry where the learners can go off in infinite directions and have no correlation to what we call curriculum today, nobody's going to use it. They'll be afraid of it, and I agree with that. What this is a way to learn how to make curriculum evolve effectively for learners by putting a curriculum microscope right on the edge of what learners are doing. So we'll start with the curriculum we got today, and the curriculum we got today can learn to evolve to respond to the needs of learners. At the same time, it learns to support our needs as an education system. So it, like at all other levels, is a learner interface between the need for curriculum. I got 2 minutes left, right, if nobody's in that big a hurry. There was a thought experiment that started this for me, which cuts right at the edge of your question, which was, I envisioned a device that you put in your pocket. This was about 5 or 6 years ago. And that this device, I could ask any question in the world of it. It was tied into the Library of Science. It had AI agents. It could shine on the wall any image that I needed to see. It could talk back to me. I could articulate any question. It could articulate any answer. Now, we're not quite there yet. We're going to be there. It's going to be in our pockets. The personal information interface to the knowledge of man. It's coming. My question has always been not whether the hardware would get there. I'm sure it would. Not even whether the content could be organized out in the world. I was sure of that. But what kind of relationship do we have between the human being that's using it and all that? Is it helping them become learning-oriented or helping them become another knower in a different kind of way, conforming to this? And the way that I came to the question of curriculum was I envisioned giving this to a 3-year-old. And you know what happened when I went to the 3-year-old in my mind that I gave this to? They stuck it places. That without some way to unfold experience, it wouldn't get used. And unfolding experience is curriculum. So yeah, curriculum's needed. I think that's it. I'm over time now.
We can't let you go a minute. We've got to do something.
Oh, okay.
Let's give this guy a wonderful welcome.
Thank you.